Chapter 6, Pseudo-Annihilation. The phone buzzes. David opens his eyes, pulled directly out of REM sleep. His body feels heavy, his eyes sting, they feel dry. He yawns, and the phone buzzes again. It's loud, incessant, shaking the entire nightstand. Each vibration works its way through his nerves. He anticipates each buzz, dreading the sound it makes. He's still partially asleep and lacks the motivation to pick himself up. The digital clock reads 12:01 a.m. He groans and finally answers the phone. What? He can hear Trent's voice, and it says, "We're outside." Trent hangs up immediately, leaving David to sit there in his soft twin-sized bed, submerged in total darkness, the only light being the red digital clock. David exhales with exhaustion and slams the phone shut. He creeps down the stairs, fully dressed in yesterday's clothing, trying not to wake his father. A creak with each step he takes. It can be heard throughout the entire house. He moves as slowly as possible, not even breathing. On the walls of the stairwell, there are assortments of many different photographs. Family photos, mostly of himself, some of his father, but no visible mother figure in his life. What the fuck am I doing? He asks himself the question. The H2 Hummer is parked across the street, Maria leaning against the hood, smoking cigarettes. Emily stands off to the side with her arms folded. She looks distressed, looking as if she had been kidnapped and forcibly dragged here by the Sinaloa cartel. David imagines that someone is hiding in the bushes, aiming a rifle at her head. Meanwhile, Trent is rolling up and down the cul-de-sac in a new pair of Heelys. He stops in front of David, spins around in a circle, and shakes his hand with great force. The firmest handshake ever experienced by man. David's arm is almost ripped out of its socket. "Are we doing this or what?" David asks. "Oh, so now you're interested in this little adventure," Trent teases. "Not really, man. I'm just trying to get this over with." Alright, hop in and we'll be rolling out." Before he knows it, they are driving down the road in Trent's H2 Hummer, with nothing on the radio. Northwest Indiana looks especially dark tonight. Most of the streetlights are out. Many miles away, David can see what appears to be the industrial towers through tinted glass. They are so far away, he begins to wonder if they even really exist, or they're just the false projections against the solid background. The illusion of distance. He has no clue where they are. No way to tell one town from another. Is this Portage? Porter? Burns Harbor? Gary? Where was Trent even going? David tries to look cool and stoic for Emily, but she can see right through him. She can feel his fear, and he can feel hers. In the front of the car, Trent and Maria sit with no expression on their face. They feel nothing, say nothing, like robots pre-programmed to fulfill a mission. The car slows down, creeping past a Chinese buffet. The parking lot is full of potholes and massive cracks with weeds growing out of them. Trent swerves around to the back of the place, seeing the entrance to the forested trail, and he begins their descent into total darkness. David sits in the back seat alongside Emily. They are both shaking. The headlights illuminate the path that lies ahead. It looks like an endless tunnel, with dead trees and long, leafless branches on both sides of the car, scraping against glass. A canopy of vines, hanging low, smacking against the windshield. A narrow, bumpy dirt road, with logs and ditches in the way. They jostle around in their seats, almost hitting their heads on the ceiling. Up ahead, there is something that comes into view. It looks like a massive stone structure with vines and kudzu traveling up the sides of it. Could this be it? Is this the theater? What is it doing all the way out here? Emily's petrified. David can feel her hand tighten around his shoulder. The structure comes into view, and she gasps in pure fear. The mere sight of it evokes primal terror. The kind of fear only felt by animals caught in the midst of death. It doesn't make any sense. Its existence should not be possible. Who put it here? And for what purpose, this theater? Trent stops the car. He shuts off the engine. The headlights flick off a moment later. David could feel the darkness. It worked its way into his very soul. This world feels infinitely cold. He imagines himself in the center of an endless void, finally beginning to understand his fate, the fate of all things. He imagines what the universe will look like at the end of time, 1 Google years from now, and pictures it being something like this. No light, no heat, no matter at all, just infinite empty blackness. Well, we're here, Trent says, excited. Trent and Maria are the first to leave the car. They seem fearless, eager to see what was never meant to be seen, to see what was truly worth seeing. The parking lot, if you can even call it that, is so dark that they have to use the dim blue lights from their flip phones. That only allows them to see a few inches in front of them. Mostly they rely on the sense of touch to find the way. David and Emily follow behind with great hesitation. They keep glancing over to where the car should be. David wants to jump inside, drag Emily with him, and drive out of there as fast as possible. Trent feels up and down the side of the building. He finds what feels to be an entrance. It's sealed shut. He tries to look through the window, but they have been tinted with black paint. No light can penetrate the glass. Trent bangs on the door as hard as possible, but nothing changes. Maria stands behind him with folded arms. She holds her phone to his face to see what David... So, she has her flip phone with a small little blue screen. She literally holds it up to David's face, right up against his face. The small little screen, the blue light from the small screen in this empty, completely pitch black parking lot. She's holding the phone right up to David's face, and there's a soft blue light illuminating him, and she can see his fear. Okay. And she sees that David is afraid, and she wants to laugh at him. What a way to act in front of a girl you like, David. You'd be acting like a bitch in front of Emily right now. Punk-ass bitch. David was just about to suggest they leave, but something in the woods catches his eyes. Behind the trees and deep into the woods, a white light beams through the foliage. David gasps. For a fraction of a second he sees. He saw something move through the forest. It was walking upright on 2 legs, vaguely humanoid in its shape. A figure made of pure light. It walked through the forest, covering itself behind a tree. And the light it gave off began to dissipate, vanishing completely. David rubs his eyes, not knowing if what he saw was real. Did you see that? He asked himself. And he asked Emily. And she says, see what? Trembling. Trent somehow manages to get the door open. A bright yellowish light pours out of the theater, and David shields its eyes. Trent steps inside and yells out in excitement. Whoa! Yo guys, you gotta check this out! Everyone rushes into the movie theater without even thinking. The heavy door shuts behind them, sealing them inside forever. The atrium of this theater is massive. There is no furniture, no posters, or decorations of any kind, looking as if the building was brand new, constructed recently, and not yet open for business. Trent rubs his chin. Interesting. David yells out, okay, this is too fucking weird. We need to leave right now. What's the rush? Trent says, confused. What's the rush? David repeats the question. What's the rush? He looks over, seeing the petrified look on Emily's face. Something is very wrong here. This isn't right. Trent laughs. What are you even saying right now? You sound insane, David. Are you sure you're feeling alright? Both Trent and Maria walk towards him slowly. You haven't been the same since your incident. David loses it. Will you shut the fuck up about my incident? I lost some blood. So what? A bright light shines between a pair of double doors. The doors leading into Theater 1, the IMAX theater.
Trent and Maria turn around, seeing the light in all its glory. It fades away as they observe it. What was that? David asked. Trent and Maria walked towards the door curiously, locked arm in arm, saying nothing. Where are you going? They stand before the entrance to the theater, looking through the crack between the doors. In synchronization, they turn to look at David and wave goodbye. David and Emily watch as Trent and Maria enter Theater 1. The black doors swing open by themselves. The young couple walks inside, disappearing into the darkness. A moment later, the door slams shut. The theater has opened its mouth, swallowing them whole before annihilating them completely. David backs up slowly, grabbing Emily by the arm, still looking over at the doors, imagining that at any moment something or someone will jump out of them, sprinting towards them at a fast pace, ready to kill. He drags Emily towards the entrance. He pulls on the handle, but it does not move. It's sealed shut. No matter how hard they bang against it, it does not budge. There is no way out, and they are running out of time. David knows this to be true. There is something inside this theater, lurking behind the walls, and it has the home field advantage. This space is its domain, and they are unwelcome guests. Out of desperation, David looks over to Theater 1. Emily knows what he is thinking. She shakes her head back and forth, saying no, but she has no choice. They prepare themselves to enter Theater 1. Through the black swinging doors, they enter the long, narrow hallway to the IMAX screen. Small lights have been installed along the floors, guiding their path through the dark corridor. At the end of it, they see the massive 70mm screen and the many rows of empty seats. Trent? Maria? They yell out, but there is no answer, and there are no others. David, Emily asked, crying. Where did they go? I don't know, Emily. The projector turned on by itself. The room is filled with blue light. They crane their necks upwards to stare at the projected images. On the IMAX screen, they see the visions of another world. The empty world. A place of gray skies and crumbling skyscrapers, oceans filled with garbage, and carpets stained with blood. David sees a church completely engulfed in flames. Emily turns around and screams at the top of her lungs. There is something in the projection booth, watching them. It's been watching them this entire time. A glowing figure stands in the projection booth. It observes them for a moment before turning around and walking down a hallway. David knows that it's coming for them. It knows their location and how to reach them. They are trapped in Theater 1. The only way out is the way they came. Like two animals backed into a corner. He takes Emily by the hand and sprints down the hallway. They burst through the doors, and they see that the atrium is dark now, and all the lights are gone, and the air smells musty. They breathe heavily, the taste of mold in their mouths. David looks around the atrium, having no idea what to do. He looks down a dark hallway. The glowing figure exits from behind a pillar. It begins to walk towards them. It looks as if it is walking slowly, but the movement of its legs does not match its movement speed. It's sprinting towards them, gaining speed faster and faster. Emily screams. They turn around, running towards a fire exit. David slams into the doors in full force, praying that this is the way out, but when he steps through, they see that this is nothing more than another room, a pseudo-exit. A practical joke being played on them by whoever or whatever designed this superstructure. They find themselves in some sort of basement with gray concrete walls, a concrete ceiling, and concrete floor, an endless series of rooms within rooms. Hallways that split off into multiple directions, everything looking the same. A maze of concrete David imagines that this maze would never end, and that its size is larger than that of the theater, larger than that of the observable universe, a procedurally generated nightmare made just for him. And in their panic they run, taking lefts and rights at random. They are quickly lost but have no time to backtrack, no way to possibly escape. Their fates are sealed, and death is inevitable. They are only prolonging their lives by a matter of minutes. David holds his ribcage. Every breath he takes pierces his side. His legs are beginning to crack. Sweat pours down his face. As the figure closes in, the figure is close and he can feel it. It knows the path that they have taken, every right and left turn. There is no way to trick this specter, no way to hide. It sees all, it knows all, past, present, and future. David keeps running, but Emily lags behind. He lets go of her for a brief moment, taking a sharp left turn. She slams into a wall, hitting her head against the concrete and crashing onto the hard floor. Her body goes limp. David doesn't notice. He keeps running out of primal fear of death, assuming that Emily is still by his side. Emily picks herself up, hyperventilating and crying, holding herself in her own arms and rocking back and forth. Around the corner, she sees the glowing light. She can feel the heat as it approaches. Her eyes are widened. Her pupils shrink. Tears are falling down her face. She sees the light that will kill her. David slows his pace, resting against the wall. And in that moment, he finally notices that Emily is gone. His stomach sinks. Emily. Emily! He screams. Her voice reverberates for miles. David is what she screams. And his own name is what David hears, echoing for miles. David tries running towards the sound, only to get lost once again. He goes down a long, dark tunnel. There's a light at the end of it. He enters through what appears to be a pathway into a room that looks like a furnished basement. The walls are wood-paneled, the floor is green shag carpet. The ceiling is so low that David has to duck as he enters. His head hits the top of it if he stands too tall. The only light is a small lava lamp in the corner of the room. Standing beside it and facing into the corner is a person. And David walks towards him slowly. He sees that it's Trent. It's Trent. What is he doing down here? Why is he facing the wall? Trent? David touches Trent's shoulder. Trent turns around. The purple light off the lava lamp scatters across the side of his face. His eyes are completely black. He reveals the knife in his pocket, but before David can scream, he sticks the blade into his chest. David opens his mouth, but no sound escapes, only blood. David falls to the floor. The blood stains on the carpet. It forms into a pool. It soaks into his clothing. David looks up. Trent is gone now. He is alone in the basement, bleeding to death. Finally, he screams out in pure terror as all the energy leaves his body. The final statement of fucking shit. David looks up. Trent is gone now. He is alone in the basement, bleeding to death. Finally, he screams out in pure terror as all the energy leaves his body. The final statement of his fucking shit, man. Fuck. Finally, he screams out in pure terror as all the energy leaves his body. The final statement of his existence. The blood. The blood. It's everywhere. It's all over his hands, all over his body, and the floor. His vision blurs. Everything becomes hazy. He can feel himself drifting off, fainting. David dies alone in the basement.